So I don't particularly expect this video to be... I don't expect this video to be particularly coherent. I just need to get in the practice of speaking to the camera every day. So I was just meditating, and what's kind of on my mind is I found myself trying to process through some old relationship issues, convincing myself that while these individuals held numerous traits that I found extremely attractive and that would be ideal for a relationship with me, those traits were accompanied by an equal number of traits that were sub-ideal, that were toxic or destructive or just incompatible. But in the process of thinking about this, it occurred to me that it's a very I'm thinking too much about them and their role in the relationship and not enough about mine. And while I think that it is beneficial to be other-centered, I think in this instance where this exercise is about self-reflection and personal growth, in this instance I need to focus more on myself and my part in all of that. So I need to turn those same questions, that same scrutiny on myself, such as like, in what ways am I a sub-ideal partner? What areas of needed growth am I ignoring? Okay, so let's analyze that. Some honest self-reflection. Okay, the first thing that keeps popping in mind is that I am quick to anger. I don't necessarily always express that anger, but I do find myself frustrated. And I think the fact that I don't express it is probably worse, because what could be expressed as a simple boundary eventually becomes a catastrophic, explosive event, because that boundary has been crossed repeatedly, and that's not even their fault, because I never established the boundary to begin with. You can't. It is illogical to harbor resentment towards somebody for behaving according to their nature. Everyone's behaving according to their nature. It's not. They're not perceiving it as a bad thing to do, and they're likely not even aware that it is triggering or hurtful for you, unless you express that to them. And if it's not their responsibility to walk on eggshells or to avoid your triggers, but I think that if they care about you and your mental health and your emotional state and all of that, that they will at least be mindful of it. And if they, that's the difference too, is like if they are knowingly crossing the boundary repeatedly, then that indicates a level of disconcern that should be concerning. not to say that they should act. They should always act according to whatever makes you most comfortable. That's not a viable solution either. But I think that as a couple, as partners, you should actively work on each other's triggers. Like, if I know that this common thing that they're going to be experiencing in the world on a fairly regular basis is triggering for them, then that's something that we can work on in private, where I can. One technique would be that I can warn them, hey, I'm about to do this thing that's going to trigger you, prepare yourself. And then they can practice in being prepared to deal with that. And vice versa. I would expect them to do the same for me, but like I said, there's a difference in knowingly or intentionally lashing out and triggering things that you know to be triggers from a place of selfishness or malice. So yeah, I was saying that I'm quick to frustration, and maybe that's because I'm like in a constant state of frustration. It probably stems from a constant state of feeling of powerlessness, just because of the situations that I have dug myself into. I was doing a little mind map earlier, or mind dump. I would just get stuff on paper so that I could eventually transfer it to a to-do list. But in the midst of just scribbling out random thoughts, I wrote something that I found a little disturbing. I think I wrote something along the lines of, I cling to needy people because I need to be needed, because if I were ever not needed, I would probably kill myself. Now, that's not to say that the reason for that is that I have no purpose. There's no mission. And that stems from my own personal philosophies, my understandings of reality, that all things are possible, but only that which I have evidence for is true. So yeah, I hold these deeper philosophical ideals, and I act as if they are true because it is beneficial for me to act that way. But I don't believe it on any deep core level, and because I don't have evidence to back it up. What I do have evidence for is empirical data, and part of that is the principle of entropy. And if you follow entropy out to its logical end state, then nothing matters. Nothing that happens in this material reality will make any difference. It all ends in the same place. So it's all pointless. And so there is this deep depression that comes with that, because it's not hopeless, but it is pointless. Why struggle and push when ends in the same place. Why fight to build something that's going to fall down? And so in that sense of pointlessness and just absurdity, the only thing that really keeps me going is keeping somebody else going. And that's not a particularly healthy or productive mindset. And it also limits the depth to which I can be helpful. Because if I were to build myself out and gather greater resources, I could use those resources to reach and help more people. But even in that, it's pointless because it all ends in the same place. The only real motivation that I've ever derived anything from is the one-on-one emotional empathy of seeing somebody I care about struggle and wanting to help that. So how do we overcome this? How do I counteract that? I either need to find evidence of a greater principle, or I need to somehow disprove entropy. Now you know. That's what I'm thinking about today.